qualification season. The Japan Cup comes to its close at Suzuka this weekend. 2 races to determine champions across GT3 and GT4. Before all of that, qualifying under a rather leaden sky. It has been really weird weather, hot, humid, a huge deluge of rain in the area last night. The road is kind of dry, but there's no guarantee it's going to remain dry during the qualifying session, and that's going to tease the teams for these 2 elements, 1 driver, 1 session. The Suzuka circuit is an absolutely brilliant race circuit. It's the ideal place to round out the season, and as far as temperatures are concerned, well, humid, most definitely. Wind speed is 2.2 kilometers an hour, and you can see just how grey and threatening the skies are. David Addison and Joe Osborne are trackside, and at the moment we're in the best place. We're in the dry.
Yeah, dry here and dry on circuit at the moment, so teams would venture out on slick tyres at the moment because that cloud is getting closer and the radar seems like there is going to be rainfall at some point during qualifying. It's going to be when?
If you're in Q1, you're going to want to go out first early, at least get a banker lap in. But the drivers that are going to face the second qualifying session, they've got perhaps less choices available to them because by that stage, the weather will be what it will be.
Yeah, exactly. No tyre ovens either in Japan Cup. So cold tyres, of course, ambient being above 30 degrees will help that as we see cars venture out. Almost an unsafe release there between the 2 Ferraris. And like you said, David, if you're in Q1, you want to go out first. Fast lane is open, so they will queue in that fast lane. Series without tyre ovens, there's less of a deficit to performance in queuing in the fast lane, so that's unsurprising anyway. But these drivers, it will be very much a venture, this outlap, to see where the grip is. You can see there's just a dry line on the centre there down the pit straight, the crown of the road drying sooner, but there's nowhere near enough moisture on this track to warrant wets, so it has to be slicks. We saw lap times in pre-qualifying yesterday in the 201s. I expect the first flying laps to be probably 207s, 208s, and then once the tyre temp is up, we will see some relatively fast lap times.
A really good mix of car as well in Japan Cup. Ferraris are plenty, Mercedes AMG, Nissans to cheer the home fans. Also Lexus, the K-Tunes Racing RC FGT3, Porsches as well, and then of course you've got GT4 machinery with Porsche taking on Toyota GR there as well. So the queue at the end of the pit lane is forming, ready to get out on track. We'll come to the championship situation in a moment. First, let's have a look at a real old-school circuit.
Yeah, 18 corners, 5.8 kilometres in length. Lots of overtaking opportunities, but also lots of areas of jeopardy. In conditions like this, easy to drop a wheel on an exit curb and send yourself into a barrier. There isn't a huge amount of runoff in places in this very, very legendary circuit.
Now we've got 9 drivers that are doing not only Japan Cup this weekend, but also the Suzuka 1000 kilometres, because we're running here as well, not only for Japan Cup, but also Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli this weekend. As far as the championship is concerned, it is the Shinji Takai, Ukyo Sasahara combination that is ahead, but Akihiro Suzuki and Shintaro Kawabata could take the title away. The pseudonymed Banksy, who has done some races with different co-drivers, he's 3rd and again could take the title. One thing you always do find in Asia, liveries like nowhere else on earth.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? They stand out in pit lane, but also on circuit, and that 888 car, the Bingo GTC Porsche Cup car, is certainly one of those to keep an eye on.
Tiger Wu goes solo in the Bingo Racing entry. Right, everybody thinking about heading onto the circuit. Interesting, isn't it, that some teams are quite prepared to lag back. Others have been sitting in that queue, going nowhere for 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, especially with teams at the end of pit lane. They've got the advantage that they could have got to the end of the fast lane sooner, but they're deciding maybe they would rather find some space on track, expecting to go green in 8 seconds time, and it's all going to be about tyre temp on these first few laps.
You saw a moment ago, number 45, the Ponos Racing Ferrari, Yorikatsu Sujiko, put the car off the road yesterday, triggered a red flag. His co-driver in that car is the always very rapid Kei Cozzolino. Right, out on track then they go, and it is a 15-minute session. These drivers, remember, are going to be the drivers that will not only, of course, here set the grid for the opening race, but also start race 1. And 296 is the first one to head down the pit lane. The Hitotsuyama with Corners Racing. Ferrari Akihiko Suzuki at the wheel of the car.
Yeah, second in the championship, and interestingly, no compensation time in the pits either, whereas our championship leader, the 45 Ponos car, will do. So that will be something we obviously talk about in the race later on today. Cars at the moment all filtering out as we take a good look at the number 9 car. That's our other car with a pit stop penalty there. That's going 5 seconds later on. So now the drivers aren't worried about that. They're worried about finding some space on the first few laps, getting the tyres up to temperature, and then seeing what conditions they have. The drivers will be pretty well versed in where the car settings need to be. Traction control, ABS, all fully adjustable, so you tend to start higher on a cold tyre, and then when it's conditions like this, higher again. But looking pretty dry through the first sector here as we look through turns 4, 5 and 6. There's definitely the driest part of the track that we've seen thus far.
And after yesterday, when quite a few people were caught out in the changeable weather of the day, an element of caution so far, because they know that this is not a session where really you've got any time to recover. 39, there's the car that's rather dominated in GT4 this year. Haridama Manopo and Saito Nonaka, they have won every time out in the Toyota Supra that runs in Silver Am within GT4. Champions elect, and the Supra, curious, isn't it? These cars have worked obviously very well in Asia, done well in the GT4 European Series, less so perhaps in other domestic GT4 championships, but in Japan Cup this car's been very, very quick all year, absolutely unbeatable.
Yeah, and the only reason it hasn't secured the championship is that the second place car has finished second in every race as well, a Porsche GT4, which we're more used to in Europe, aren't we, being quicker. But yeah, this Supra has been phenomenal in its form this year, and they will just be looking almost to just stroke the car home in race 1 to secure that championship.
Japan Cup aimed at not only Japanese drivers but Japanese teams as well, and one of those Japanese teams is TTR with Akilan Racing, and that is new to the championship this weekend with the 2 Hong Kong drivers, Terence Say and Fong Wei Shang, and it is Shang that's going to drive first. So as you can see the cars coming then down towards the first curve, as it is called. You can see how wet it is offline, but that's going to dry out, assuming it stays dry, and that's an assumption that we might be a bit brave in making. Yeah,
and the drivers will just be fully focused on getting up to speed as quickly as they can. You can see on the timing tower on the left, your sector breakdown, 3 sectors here, and the purple means fastest out of everyone, green their personal fastest. That's obviously going to change quite quickly. For example, they were still 4 seconds off in sector 3 on that outlap compared to the fastest sector 3 in pre-qualifying. So I expect this lap to be another build lap, build the pressure, build the temperature in the tyre, and then the next lap will be somewhere in the 203s would be my guess, still probably a second and a half off. But do you want to get a banker lap in early in case that rain comes? You don't want this to be too much of a chill lap. It needs to have some relevance to pushing.
Treble 5, that is Yusako Maezawa in the Ferrari, run by his own team. He's found himself in traffic, hasn't he? He can't really concentrate on his own lap because he's got a Porsche ahead and he's got the Nissan there behind. That's the car of Ruichiro Oyagi, solo driver. Number 81, the Team Daishin with GT Net entry. There you can see Oyagi in the graphic. But we are looking at absolute bests now as people start to piece together lap times.
Yeah, and the Nissan being a solo driver, he's going to get the benefit of getting twice the track info. But yeah, the 666 Porsche there, you can see, has got the perfect position. I'm surprised the Ferrari hasn't backed off just yet to find some space. But as they come into this final chicane here and just looking to get the car set up to get a good drive over the start-finish line.
Racing car, Banksy at the wheel of it, and he heads now over the timing line onto a flying lap, still just moving around a little, it seems, to assess where it's drier.
Yeah, just moving left to right, trying to keep some temperature and, more importantly, the surface clean. You can see him checking the mirror to make sure he's clean. Gets out of turn 2, okay. The car looking really well balanced at the moment. Slight micro adjustments with his hands, and that's the driver's cue to just try and feel the grip. Every time you have a little wobble of the wheel, you get a bit of feedback. Is it gripping or is it sliding? And if it grips, you get more confidence, carry more speed as we now start to climb the hill. Still no cars in front of us whatsoever. We're very clear as we fly through 7. We're just trying to keep to the inside. Very difficult exit here in these conditions. And then we've got this short break into turn 8 before this really tricky turn 9, where it's easy to drop a wheel on the exit and lose some time. An awkward curve here at 10 before the big break, and we're still weaving. So although we're purple in sector 1, I expect this lap to maybe be slightly off in sector 2 as he's deciding the car's not ready, as he unwinds a lot. Full throttle now for Banksy as he flies through 12. 200R. This corner goes on and on. 200 degrees of radius, funny enough, before we need to spot our braking point for turn 13 at Spoon. 2 apexes. The first one's important to get, because if you miss the first, the second becomes even harder. And now we need to hook it up. This is one of the exit curbs the drivers will be wary of. 2 reasons. 1, it's going to hold the water. 2, it's going to be a track limit hot spot. And for sure, we're still looking for a bit of tyre temp and even hitting the brakes there. So I think Banksy started the lap strong and has decided the tyre's not there. I'm going to go for it on the next push as he approaches the very, very quick 130R, turn 15. And then this is the best overtaking spot. We'll keep an eye for this in the race. Into 16, how much curb do we use? The confidence drivers are all over the sausage curbs on the right and the left, but expect this next lap to be more representative. We're already at 2:04 on the lap time. I think Pole's going to be in the low 2:02s this morning.
Well, Banksy goes quickest. He may have backed out of it in the second and third sectors, as you can see, slower than he'd gone earlier, but he has gone fastest by 1.4 seconds. So there's more to come. He is ahead, or rather he was ahead of Akita, but now Yorikatsu Suzuka, number 45 in the Ponos Racing Ferrari, he goes top. They're going through. The first curve is Akita, whose Ferrari has now fallen to third in the time. So Suzuka goes fastest, but everybody improving sector by sector pretty much now. Banksy, though, teasing us, and he's got more to go. Now, there's the GT4 Toyota, Manopo at the wheel of it, and that car at the minute is 11th in the time, so it's going well overall, never mind only in GT4 terms.
Yeah, and lap time's going to get much more relevant very quickly. 2:13 there for the Toyota. But look at the traffic, GT3 traffic as well. You would expect the GT4 car to be 11 seconds a lap slower around here, but at the moment in these conditions, the driver in the GT4 car able to feel the grip a bit more, narrower tyre as we go on board here. You can see the traction control light flashing, that blue light there, just trying to warn the driver that the traction control is active. And again, like Banksy in the Porsche, lots of steering wheel movement trying to feel the car. And at the moment, we're getting held up by the GT3 Nissan in front, aren't we? And that's going to be hugely frustrating for the GT4 Toyota.
Ruichiro Oyagi, that we saw a little while ago, he has gone back to the pit lane and has yet to do a lap time. He's back on track, but slightly curious as to why he needed to pit rather than pushing. Manopo now starts to lose out. Is he backed out of this lap because of the traffic? Yeah,
for sure. The run-up Nissan has now really capped us, and that's because we've just eased out the throttle. Probably looking at the delta time, realising I'm already down as we come to the end of Sector 1. You can see his fastest Sector 1, 56.3, and as we go through there, he's really backed out of it, and he's actually trying to find some more space. Yeah. Maybe the tyre, they've gone higher on the pressure, and it's peaked early, and he now needs a cooler to bring those pressures back down, as I think the 555 car has run wide out of 130.
Yeah, that was Mike Sauer getting it wrong prior to the Cassier chicane. So building up pace again. While all that's going on, Banksy has gone back to the top of the times on a 2 minutes 3.333, 79 thousandths quicker than Akita now. The two pseudonym drivers together. And then Akihiro Suzuki is going to be next. Let's have a look at what Maizawa did. He's wide, as you say. And then eventually the car loops around, not a part of the racetrack where you want to be doing that. And he was lucky there was nobody around him, and he got that sorted just before the traffic arrived.
Yeah, a 360 at 130 is certainly a brave way to wake yourself up in the 555, and then the wet grass as well on the rear right nearly made him loop round. But
360 at 130 sounds like your first day of learning fractions or something.
Exactly. And yeah, he was lucky there that he actually kept a bit of right hand down and made it into a full 360 and not a 180, which potentially could have sent them into the barrier on the inside.
Now, in the meantime, here is number 9 Ferrari. Number 15 in 9th in the times, and pushing on. It is at the wheel of the car Shinji Takei, and he's a long way down, 15th at the moment for the championship leader. So Takei has got work to do leading overall as well as in Pro-Am. So 15 for Karis, and Takei is going to go quicker on this lap because he's done 2 personal best. Bit of traffic up the road as well. The 15 GT4 Cayman, which is Kohei Sume, and he's found him in exactly the wrong part of the racetrack at exactly the wrong time, and both of them are slow, and that's a wasted lap for Takei. He's not finished it. I thought he would have at least done so in order to put a bank of time in, but he has slowed right down, as you see, and now he's got to build up pace. But the fact that he's so slow up towards the line, I don't think he's going to be that quick even at the start of the next one. He's kind of wasted 2 there.
Yeah, it's the one part of the track you don't want to set your next lap up is over the start-finish line for sure. That's a couple of seconds down on his next lap before he's even started. We're probably 120 kilometers an hour or so down as we see the 45 Ferrari now here about to cross the line. This should be an improvement. You can see that because he holds the line all the way to the wall, the shortest distance, and does improve up to 3rd place on a 203.7.
So 45, which is a car that's going to carry an extra 15 seconds of compensation time in the pits. Now, how the Mercedes AMG is getting on, well, here Uchida is currently 5th in the times, so Yudai Uchida coming up towards the end of the lap. It's another car that's been really competitive this year, although out of luck in terms of taking a race win. This might be the sort of circuit that lends itself to the grunt and go Mercedes. And up to 3rd goes Yudai Uchida as he crosses the line then, and he's only just under 0.3 of a second away from pole. Yeah,
2.5 tenths quicker than anyone in sector 3 as well. So that Mercedes from Max Racing working well as Ponzo Racing look on, and you can see the co-drivers trying to glean as much information as possible so that when they jump in the car, they're as well versed as is going. And someone that's very well versed is Manapo here coming into turn 15, 130R. This is where we saw that Ferrari have a full 360, so we backed out of sector 2 again here. So this is 2 laps that have been compromised for one reason or another for this GT4 2H. You can see the car moving there, so expect this to be a setup lap. But look at that GT3 Ferrari looming behind. I think that was the 181 car, the Norwick Racing car. That's potentially going to overtake him on his next lap, and that's the beauty of multi-class racing, or the frustration of multi-class racing, depending on which side of the fence you're sat.
Just looking at times, although people are improving, we're still not in terms of the outright pace where we were yesterday. Now that might be because you've got the lower graded driver in many of the cars, so the pros in quotes are going to be able to go faster. But 2 minutes 3.3 at the moment, and we were doing high 2-minute ones yesterday on a drier surface. But I think in fairness, the second session, if we get no rain, will be quicker when you've got the higher graded drivers aboard. 296 is the Hitotsuma with Corners Racing Ferrari, and Hiko Suzuki at the wheel of the car, 5th fastest.
It's been a strong start to one, hasn't it? It's actually very tight at the top. The top 6 covered by 0.8 of a second, and although that isn't a green sector 2, it's less than 2 tenths off the fastest. So this could be an improvement at the moment for Suzuki in the 296, 296, and just needs a clean run out this last corner. Just looking at the car body language, looking good, rode the curbs really nicely, and now flat out through this last curve as he pushes the line again, going the shortest distance and up to 5th. Great sector 3 as well. This is really lighting up with less than a minute and 10 seconds on the clock.
And behind, Yudai Uchida has just gone onto pole position in the Max Racing Mercedes. So Yudai Uchida, next in the queue, goes onto pole by 35 thousandths of a second. At the moment, you've got the leading 6 covered by less than a second. This is Ruichiro Oyagi, who pitted earlier, and Oyagi now is on a mission. He's up to 6th. He's going really well, soloist. So, of course, he's got a little bit of extra knowledge of the car, of the circuit for Q2. He might go even faster then.
Yeah, and this is the sector where this Nissan is strong as well as sector 2 can really open up its legs down the back straight here. And Azim will be braking sector 2 any second now. We'll get an illustration of how good this lap's going to be. And it is strong in sector 2. 3.5 tenths quicker than anyone there. And again, looking good through 130R. Slight lock up there. The ABS unable to catch the front right in time to stop it rotating. Still made the apex, so it shouldn't be too much of a loss. The tiniest of flat spots. The driver probably unaware of a small lock-up like that. Not going the shortest distance, and is just going to squeeze another lap in, and sector 3 just takes it away, so we're 6th place.
Yeah, the lap time in the end wasn't an improvement. Here's the lock-up then as he comes accelerating from the 130R locks up coming into the chicane, scrambles through, doesn't improve. All of these drivers now heading up to take the flag, including number 18 of Akita. He will give way to Takashi Kobayashi for Q2. Akita third, and accelerates down the hill. It's quite a steep drop, isn't it, all the way past the pits here. Flag out, red lights on the gantry, so Akita goes no faster. Interesting though, the way that session pieced together, with some people going quicker in the middle, and then that last lap by Oyagi as an example. Brilliant middle sector, but slower in sectors 1 and 3 either side of it. Here, heading to the line, 7th is Tadao Uematsu in the Team Makina Ferrari, and this might be an improvement because, as you can see, he's good in sector 1, he's lost a bit of time in sector 2, he's got to be brave in sector 3 to really piece it all together and compensate for the loss of sector 2. Yeah,
I think the tyres are starting to drop off, and that's maybe why sector 2 is down. Is that a trend, or is he able to recover? He stays 7th and doesn't improve on that lap. So I think you're right. I think we saw a lot of improvements early on, and I think teams went high on the tyre pressures to get the tyres in for the drivers, but then the fall off was more severe than we would normally see, and potentially see in Q2 as the sun is now out on the cars coming on into sector 3.
It's teasing them all the time, the weather here. Norikatsu Shibata, you're looking at Shibata as another driver who's going to be doing double duty with the Suzuka 1,000 kilometre IGTC race as well. And as he comes then now up towards the end of the lap, he's done it the other way round. Slower sector 1, but a better sector 2. So Shibata then comes towards the line, and as he breaks the beam, let's see what he can do. He's slower, 2 minutes 5.396.
Now needs to get that car back to pit lane ASAP so the team can turn it around and get the second driver ready. Second driver will have quite a big advantage in terms of the brakes being hot. The second driver in this car, obviously from Daishin Racing, is the same driver, so they're definitely got their eye in. So expect that Nissan to be at the top very quickly, because the driver doesn't need to get up to speed. Ogi there will just get straight on it. The big wheel brace there, torquing up the wheels of the 666 car. Banksy, first driver there, finished up second after looking strong at the start of that run.
That car's become more yellow than it was previously. It was sort of black with yellow, now it's yellow with black, if that makes sense. It's become a lot more like a highlighter pen. Banksy in the pit lane, third in the championship, and of course mathematically still has a chance. It's going to be tough, but it's a chance for him. So Q1 is done here at Suzuka for the final event of Japan Cup, and in terms of who's been fastest in the classes in GT3 AM, it is number 81 Ruichiro Oyagi. In Pro-Am, it's Yuda Yoshida in the Max Racing Mercedes, and in GT4 Silver AM, it is the Toyota Supra of Haridama Manopo. Let's have a look at the order then. Uchida is the fastest. In the end, Banksy second with 35 thousandths between them. Akita third from fourth fastest, the Ferrari in the hands of Akihiro Suzuki. Then you've got Yoshio Suzuki fifth for Ponos Racing, soloist Oyagi sixth, then it's Uematsu, Maizawa, Shibata and Takei to round out the top 10. Now the championship leader Takei is a long way back, only 10th, the Bingo Racing team with a very tough start to the day. And I know it's going to be better in Q2 for a lowly grid position for the first race, and of course they've got 5 seconds of compensation time extra to serve in the pit lane, so they've got to race well early on.
Yep, and feedback going between the two drivers there. Keiko Zelina just trying to understand where the car's at potentially, and a tap on the shoulder saying, we get it, we know that wasn't your best job that you've done thus far this season, but are we able to maybe get higher up the field in Q2?
He's going to have to do it, isn't he, because they know that there's a championship on the line here, so that car will be hustled on. So as the teams do the switch, let us head to the pit lane, and let's go to the pit lane and hear from Amy.
With the pole sitter of race 1, 内田選手、おめでとうございます。このね、最終戦の場でね、土曜日ですけれども、ポールからのスタートになります。お気持ちを教えてください。
そうですね、非常に路面のコンディションが、非常にダスティで難しかったんですけど、その中でもなんとかねうまくまとめられて、チームみんながね一生懸命応援してくれてたんで、なんとかねいいポジションを取りたいなと思って 結果が後で聞いて1位だっていうことでね、ちょっと自分でもびっくりしています。
改めましておめでとうございます。そしてね、レース1頑張ってください。
はい、ありがとうございます。頑張ります。
A quick translation for our international fans. So the condition was very tricky as all of the teams were kind of concerned about the tires, but he did manage well in these conditions. Also because the team was rooting for him so much, he's very happy for this pole position. And in fact, he didn't know that he got this position until he came back to the pits. So he's very, very happy about it. Back to you.
Amy is in the pit lane with a very happy Yuda Uchida. Thanks, Amy. And there is the Max Racing Mercedes. The little logo, the animal on the side, not smiling quite so much as you might anticipate after pole position, probably terrified of the speed of the Mercedes. So Uchida now gives way to Yuya Motojima. Other teams doing a switch, not exclusively, because there are, as we've been saying, a few soloists. Cars are going to be lighter on fuel, and this is where the pro driver gets in. So this is going to be an intense session, and times will tumble.
Yeah, as the rain continues to hold off, you can still see that cloud in the background, but it has lightened up, hasn't the sun breaking through in areas. So
pick a lane. Is it dark? Is it sunny? Come on.
Dark in the background, sunny in places. That's my final offer, as it looks pretty looming in the background. But look at the track temp, still rising, 32.6 now. Humidity still high.
But this is the serious point. The teams are looking at this thinking, right, it's going to rain, we need to do this. And then a few seconds later, oh, hang on, it's brightened up. You know, they are being tricked by the weather as well.
Yeah, because they all went early in Q1, didn't they? Because they thought the rain was coming, but the track would have been at its best at the end. But no one brave enough to do that, quite rightly as well. And it's going to be the same story in Q2. There's a queue in the fast lane like we saw in Q1 as we go green, but maybe less of the amount of cars in the fast lane. So maybe some cars are just going to hold a little while. They don't need all 15 minutes to do their fastest lap. They really only need 3 push laps and an out lap. So 8 minutes would be enough to do the job they need to in qualifying.
I do like the way there's the countdown in the background with the seconds and the klaxon to sort of add to the tension as you look there at number 82, which is going to be Takeshi Suhiro to go out in the GT4 Cayman, the RS Club Sport model being used these days. Right, it still looks rather gloomy, it still looks rather ominous and threatening. Can they get through in just under 15 minutes before the heavens open again? So down the pit lane, not quite the mass exodus that we saw in Q1. This time around, perhaps the pro drivers in discussion with the team, working out when the optimum moment is to go out to try to buy clear track space.
Yeah, and it's not just how much moisture's on the circuit, it's also because it's all been washed overnight with the heavy rain. The rubber being laid down now is important. So if you could go later, there's more rubber laid down by other cars, there will be more grip. As you can see, the pit straight is dried pretty quickly. Of course, in a straight line, drivers less worried. It will be losing tyre temp down the straight with it being slightly wet, but at the moment, yeah, the Max Racing car and the 18 car holding there at the moment. Also looking to try and find a space, because a lot of cars were in traffic, weren't they, in Q1?
Indeed so, and some are going to try and get the lap in early while the road is clear. Others are going to try and wait to the very end. So Shintaro Kawabata, you were looking at in 296, he was first out. There is the Porsche of Hiroaki Nagasawa, the Destino with Sunrise Boulevard car that runs in GT4. And is not the most exciting of liveries, having talked about some of the really brash ones that you get in Asia. Years ago, every major sports car race at Silverstone would have a boring white Porsche that arrived, and as deals were done over the weekend, would garner more stickers. That's in the realms of being the boring white Porsche at the minute, but it'll be a quick one, no doubt, once Nagasawa gets into his stride. 18, Akita gives the car over to Takashi Kobayashi, and you can see that Kobayashi is building up.
Yeah, exactly that. The Toyota Racing Ferrari there. We can see the Nissan that was locking up into that corner on the push lap. Our solo driver there in the 81 Nissan. So they're able to get up to speed and actually hustling the 555 Ferrari at the moment. And yeah, expect this to be another build lap. Remember, in Q1, the fastest lap after one flying lap was in the 207s, and it ultimately ended up in the 203s.
And Oyagi there in the orange Nissan should have the advantage because he's just spent 15 minutes on the circuit, so he's already dialed in. Not suggesting he's going to be the fastest, but he might be quickest early on. Others will go faster, no doubt. Shintaro Kawabata in number 296, the car second in the championship. It's going to be another fascinating fight between that car and the number 9 Ferrari, not only in terms of race pace, but also in terms of grid positions. We know that 9 is on the back foot for race 1. Keiko Zolino now in 43 5, the other driver to watch in the Ponos racing car. There he is. Cozzolino made his name initially in Europe when he was very successful in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, but when he came back to race in Japan, the Italian-Japanese driver, he's absolutely excelled in GT machinery. In a sense, it's a shame perhaps that Kei Cozzolino doesn't get put onto a more global stage. He has raced at Le Mans, he has raced in the WEC, for example, but Cozzolino is perhaps better than many people appreciate.
Yeah, the Italian heritage as well, and fit well in Europe. Just looking on the time screen, see Bamber actually came into the pits there at the end of the outlap, so hopefully that car's okay and it's just a tyre pressure adjustment or something, but we'll keep an eye on the 181 car.
That's Taku Bamber at the wheel. Bamba rather than a Bamba from New Zealand. Taku Bamba sharing with Norikatsu Shibata in the Noric Racing Ferrari. As here, towards the end of the lap, comes Kei Cozzolino, building up all the time to putting the pin, if you like, and then going for a flying lap. And at the moment, looking at this, not many people around him. In fact, the road ahead is absolutely crystal clear. So Cozzolino here is about to really launch himself.
Yeah, this is a fast lap. This could be a low 201 based on his sector times as he breaks the beam now. And it is a low 201, yeah. 201.0. That's the fastest lap we've had of the weekend for Japan Cup. And can he keep going as we now jump on board another Ferrari, this time the 555 car, 204.6 for Yakamizina.
Right, so Cozzolino then accelerates down towards the first curve, and 3.4 seconds quicker than Oyagi, but that is a margin that's going to narrow. 555 then. So Naoki Yokomitsu is at the wheel of the car. Yokomitsu third at the moment, but he's going to improve upon that. Actually, his last sector was a slower one, so that's not the ideal build to this lap, is it? No,
especially not. Just looking at Cozzolino's time, that was on his first push, so he must have done a mega lap at getting those up to temperature. You see the 39 Supra here still weaving left to right slightly for Nakaka here, coming into the final chicane. Hits the brakes nice and late. And you can see the sector times there are actually to the GT3 times, so we need to ignore that. This will be an improvement for him at the moment, and he's actually got the Porsche right behind him as well. So although the Porsche is behind him, he'll still be able to judge the gap in his mirrors to see how he's doing, and it's 2:15. We still need another 3 seconds to match the Q1 GT4 fastest.
So down the long pit straight to first curve he goes. So let's go on board then with Saito Nonaka. Let's see, because the road is clear ahead of him, whether he's going to be able to improve the lap times. We'll check that off on the sectors, but the road's clear and it's drying all the time.
Yeah, we rode on board with Banksy, didn't we, in the 666 GT3 Porsche earlier in Q1. Now we're on board with the GT4 car. It's a great illustration of the differences between GT3 and GT4. 12 seconds of lap time, 18 corners, so you're losing on average, obviously less than a second per corner, and it's a little bit everywhere. They're about 80 horsepower less, around 100 kilos more on a skinnier tyre, and that's really where all the time comes. But you can see the work the driver's having to do here, always adjusting the wheel, and we say this a lot in British GT, for example. GT4s, just because they're slower, are not easier. If anything, they're the other way round, and the explosion of popularity in GT4, you can see why, because the driver's able to have a lot of fun behind the wheel, and you can see easily still flat through this long turn 12-200R. And the important bit for the driver here is just to hold the car over to the right as much as they can to make the opening of the next corner as best as possible. Huge bit of oversteer there. Maybe we just had a right tyre on the white line as we hit the brakes. Gets to the second apex really nice here at Spoon, and it's a great illustration of how much these cars move around, and when we go on board we get a completely different view into what the driver's having to deal with, and it's always a lot more active. Slight chance here just to relax the hands as you come into 130R. The smallest of brakes in GT4 just gets it to the apex, stays legal here, and then drag the car over to the left. Again, straight as you can on the brakes. The car stops the best when the steering wheel is straight. Lots of curb on the right, nice. Through the left, unable to commit to throttle because that rear is very loose. I think the rear tyre already starting to drop off. This will be an improvement of lap time for the 39 car. 2:10, a phenomenal lap there, and that would have been quickest in Q1 as well.
Right, so over the timing line goes Nonaka and the Supra, with that long bonnet, the grunty engine under the hood, putting itself as ever up to the top of the times in the class. 6 out of 6 in terms of wins for that car, as you look here at the number 18 Ferrari. Takashi Kobayashi heading up towards the timing line. So Kobayashi at the moment is 8th. He's dropped down the order, but he's moved himself up to 2nd as he comes across the line. So Kobayashi 1.3 seconds down on Cozzolino, but he's back in the game at the moment. It's a Ferrari top 4. That was Cozzolino slowly coming into the chicane, and in traffic, look, he's 2.96 there. Kawabata trying to wriggle his way through traffic. He's 2nd in the championship, don't forget. They've had 1 win to the pit lane Bales treble 5 of Yokomitsu, and Kawabata now up towards the line, goes 2nd, and he brings the margin down to 8/10 to Cozzolino.
Yeah, Cozzolino's lap is now sub 2 minutes, so the pace is getting furious here. Sashihara, purple sector 2 in the number 9 Ferrari. What can he do? This is looking close to Cozzolino at the moment. It was a strong sector 1, really strong sector 2, lots of curve again. Through the chicane, gets good traction, is now going to hold the line, hoping the car in front stays out the way, which it does, and it breaks the beam. 2-minute 0.0, less than 3/10 off pole.
Yeah, 0.264 is the margin, so 2nd place is trading, and they're getting closer to Cozzolino, but like a prize fighter still standing. No one has yet been able to topple him. They've tried, they've had a push, they've had a go, they've had a punch, but they can't maybe dislodge him from the top spot. But nobody else has got below 2 minutes, have they? Only Cozzolino so far.
Yeah, I think the 555 Ferrari, they're putting on another set of new tyres. So did they start the session on the Q1 tyres, and now they feel the track is coming to them? They're going to put tyres on, but look, 5 minutes 20 seconds remaining after the outlap. There's only going to be time for 2 push laps, so that's a car we need to keep an eye on, the 555 Ferrari.
This is Mirai Fukushima in the Lexus, 12th in the times. Good first sector. Should find a bit more time there. So Fukushima pressing on as he comes then towards us.
Flashing the headlights at the Toyota Supra there. The 11 car, I think, is far enough ahead at the moment where it's not going to compromise. Terence Say in that Supra has actually timed it perfectly. He's on a quick lap as well himself in that Supra. And again, the multi-class racing, just because you're in a GT3 doesn't mean the GT4 is going to jump out of your way, because they're having their own race, of course.
And over the line goes Fukushima, and he's up into 6th now. So an improvement there. What have we got left? 4 minutes and change on the clock. But Ken Cozzolino staying out. His last lap was a really slow 2 minutes 9. Tiger Woo's team with their solo driver, and they're the Ponos Racing squad that operates the car of Yorikatsu Sujiko, who was in the gravel yesterday. So it's been a tough start to the weekend. Dramas yesterday, and not a great qualifying effort in Q1. As you see now, 82. That's the Takashi Suhiro Cayman.
2nd at the moment, and only 76 hundredths off pole position as well.
You touched earlier on Takubamba having pitted at the end of his opening lap. He's yet to do a lap time, and he's running out of time. I'm surprised he hasn't been able to do it. The last one, okay, was over 6 minutes, but as Ken Cozzolino walks away, work done. Bamba in number 181 now does do a time, and he goes from 19th to 17th. Right, Ken Cozzolino and the team celebrating what they assume is going to be pole position, because now anybody else that's out there with 3.5 minutes on the clock are doing yellows. In other words, slower sectors. Tyres have gone past their peak, yeah?
Yeah, apart from the 555 Ferrari, that white Ferrari we saw leaving pit lane on a new set of tyres, that will be the car that Cozzolino will want to keep an eye on as we go to this 82 numbered Porsche GT4. As we said, it's only 76 hundredths off pole position at the moment, and is still looking good at the moment. Sector-wise is going to cross the line now. Can they improve? No, it's a 2nd off the best. So I think the tyres have dropped.
And the flag is just under 3 minutes away. There is Ken Cozzolino in the background, helmet off. So he's certainly assuming that he's got a pole position out of all of this. Now this is 555 Naoki Yokomitsu, and he's heading up towards the end of sector number 1. So the Ferrari here is currently 5th in the times, as Joe was just saying. A new set of boots have gone onto it. The first sector's quite a long one. It's the best part of the minutes, isn't it?
It is, and at the moment the fastest is a 53.9 in sector 1, so we'll keep an eye there. We're going to get time for another lap after this, but this is where Cozzolino did his time on this first push lap as he crosses sector 1, and it's 7/10 off. This is not going to be the lap for pole position if the 555 has anything else to give.
Yeah, it's an improvement, so the car could improve its overall place, but it won't be a threat to pole. So you can anticipate the car to be higher than 5th, but for Cozzolino, the impregnable Cozzolino, to stay top. That's Taku Bamba. So Bamba, if you like, a late arrival at the ball because he pitted early, having taken over the car of Norikatsu Shibata, the Norit Racing entry. And Bamba then coming now down towards the chicane. This is where, as you turn out of it onto the pit straight, the road really does fall away. It's a really steep drop, come out of that last curve, and then over the timing line. Let's see what Bamba can do. 17th to 9th on a 2 minutes 2.080 is a big jump.
Yeah, and time for one more lap, of course, and that car only getting faster. It's not a bad sector 2, but still a second off. So at the moment, we're looking like we're going to be in a 2:01s for the 555 car, which is already its best time as a 2:01.5. So it's going to be nip and tuck if it's a huge improvement. Of course, we've done 2 green sectors as we now ride on board for this long right kick that you were talking about, David. And it looks like he's setting up another lap because we're not going the shortest distance. It is an improvement, 10th and a half quicker.
But stays 5th, so an improved lap time. But the frustration of all of that effort is that he's exactly where he was on the grid prior to it. There you can see, watching on, a slightly nervous Yorikatsu Suzuka, seeing what everybody else is trying to throw at his car, but they're not throwing enough. A minute remains on the clock. 888 of Tiger Wu, another of the solo drivers in the Bingo Racing entry, comes up towards the chicane, but ahead and pushing is number 18 then, Takashi Kobayashi, but he's down in sector 1 and down in sector 2. There seems to be a lot of energy in the car, but it's not coming to anything.
No, and this could be the driver now just saying, I want to have a feel what it's going to feel like in the race. And Kobayashi is able to understand what it is, but it is an improvement in sector 3, so the car is hanging on. It's not an improvement in lap time, half a second down. All of these drivers with a live delta time on the dash, they're able to see if the lap's worth completing, and they are putting more and more miles on these kilometres every lap. 5.8k more on the tyre. That would be better saved if they can't improve.
Bamba is still pushing, as you can see, because he's improved in sector 1, and in sector 2 he might not be as quick as the outright best, but can he improve his own sector time? And the answer is yes, he can. Yokomitsu likewise, 555 Ferrari, who is running behind him. Of course, now the road is getting ever clearer as well. More and more people bailing for the pit lane, therefore fewer and fewer cars on the track. Taku Bamba is going to be an improver, barring a mistake, as he comes through the right-hand kink up towards the timing line. So you're looking at 181 there. Look at the middle time. There's the checkered flag for Bamba, who's up to 5th. Brilliant effort. Now, the next one to watch is going to be Yokomitsu in 555. Here he is. He's improved in the first sector as well. So Yokomitsu actually has dropped a place on the grid because of Bamba's efforts, and as he comes then now down towards the chicane, stands on the brakes, turns into the right and the left. The flag is out. The session's at an end, so this is the last effort for Yokomitsu. An improvement beckons. Is it going to move him a row up on the grid? He's on the outside of row 3 as we stand, breaks the beam, and he goes to the inside of that row. He retakes the place away from Bamba, up to 5th.
It was a great inter-Ferrari battle there, wasn't it, for 5th place? And now Cozzolino can finally go, that's pole position. And what a lap. 2.5 tenths clear, and he did it so dominantly early on as well. So they will hope that pace stays in the car for the race later on today.
And as I bang on about quite regularly, he is still very underrated. Yeah, okay, he's well regarded in Asia, but put him in Europe because he knows the tracks from his time in Super Trofeo and WEC, for example. Kei Cozzolino is a real asset to any team. Very fast, rarely makes mistakes, and that was a fabulous job. The only driver in Japan Cups, 2 qualifying sessions to go below 2 minutes.
Yeah, the super slow-mo there of the Panos car looking really good, and this is what they need for the championship as well. They were the winners last time out at Okayama, so maybe they're just finding a bit of form at the end of this Japan Cup season.
So the checkered flag shown, track goes quiet for a moment. Some of those drivers, and indeed one of those cars, will then be on Intercontinental GT Challenge duty for the Suzuka 1000 pre-qualifying session very shortly. There, heading to the pit lane, is Terence Say in the Toyota Supra. So that car, having taken the flag, will go to the pits, and Terence Say's efforts in the end put that car where? Down at the bottom, 19th overall, I'm afraid to say. So Kei Cozzolino has done it again. Let's go to Amy in the pit lane with Kei Cozzolino on pole.
With the pole sitter of race 2, the very final race of the season, it must be a great feeling starting from pole position. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. At last, I'm back where we're supposed to be. We struggled a lot from the beginning of the season. We even had to change engineers. We had a lot of team changes, and so we weren't really able to focus to building our team, our car. And finally, we were able to do so. Also, thanks to the fact that we have the 1,000 kilometer, so we were able to set up 2 cars at the same time simultaneously and build up and try to optimize. So I'm really happy that the team got its first position here. Yeah.
So you're a busy man this weekend, so all the best luck in the race and also in the 1,000 kilometer.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
さあ、日本のファンの方々に翻訳させていただきます。まず今シーズンですね、本当ちょっと序盤からあまりいい結果を出せてなかったので、このポールポジションという、位置ですね、本当に嬉しく思っています。そしてシーズン中エンジニアさんを変えたりとか、いろいろチームの中でもね試行錯誤をして、この位置に今立てているのですごく嬉しいとおっしゃってました。そしてですね、今シーズン、最終戦ですね、ポールポジションからスタートなんですけれども、鈴鹿1000キロというねレースでダブルヘッダーなのでちょっと忙しいですけれども頑張りますとおっしゃってました。以上です。Back to you.
Amy, thanks very much. Keiko Zanino all smiles, and not the first time he's been on pole position, but it is the first time this season. So for Team Makina, it is pole in AM, courtesy of Hirokatsu Suzuki. In Pro-Am, as we've been hearing, Keiko Zanino. In Silver Am in GT4, it is Saito Nonaka, and then other pole positions, well, in GTC, GT Cup, Tiger Wu, and in GT4 AM, it is Hiroaki Nagasawa who does the goods. So Keiko Zanino, the only driver below 2 minutes ahead of Ukiyo Sasahara, and then for third fastest, the 296, Shintaro Kawabata, Ferrari. Then fourth quickest, it is the Takashi Kobayashi driven Ferrari ahead of Naoki Yokomitsu and Taku Bamba hauling the car into the top 6 at the end. You can see where the other class winners are, 10th, 15th, 16th and 18th across GTC, GT3 AM and GT4. So that builds for race number 1. The times we've just been looking at set the grid for tomorrow's race, but the first GT race of the weekend, the first of the Japan Cup races, is going to be this afternoon around about 1:45. Let's look at the highlights though of that session on a circuit that was still damp offline early on, and it caught out Yusaku Matsuwa. He had this big lose coming out of 130R, was able to recover from the moment as other drivers continue to push hard. Haridama Manopo heading for a pole position in GT4 in Q1. The road getting ever drier, ever faster, and the car's getting ever lighter on fuel as well. Ruichiro Oyagi was also pressing on to good effect in 81. The team Daishin with GT-Net, Nissan GT-R. But pole position for race 1, Yuda Uchida going very nicely for Max Racing, and the Mercedes being able to rumble its way out of the chicane and up to pole position. That's for today's race, the Mercedes AMG at the front of the field. Q2 didn't have quite the same dramatic start, people being a little bit more reserved in when they went out on circuits such as Masayuka Ueda, but early pace offered up by Shintaro Kawabata in number 296 as that car pressed on. But ultimately, despite the efforts of Ukiyo Sasahara, nobody could topple Keiko Zanino because the Ponos Racing Ferrari would take a first pole position of the season and be the only car under 2 minutes for a lap. Keiko Zanino did the time early on. The flying lap was pretty much his first, so it was a really very impressive setup lap. But Keiko Zanino on pole position for race 2. We will go racing this afternoon. Join us for race 1 of Japan Cup for the moment from Suzuka. It's goodbye. We'll see you later.